Hi guys, I hope you're all well. Welcome back to the channel. We are just going to get straight into today's case. And we are talking about Kathleen and James Cudahy. James would go by Jim. He was originally from Kilkenny but had settled with his wife Kathleen. She was originally from Malin in Donegal, and the couple would then settle together in Carndonagh and had been living here since the 60s. Their home would be in Churchlawn in Carndonagh, and they would raise their family here. Jim was a secondary school teacher. He taught maths in the local school, and even after his retirement he would continue to do maths grinds. Kathleen was an ambulance nurse, so I don't know if they necessarily mean like she was just a nurse from the emergency room, as in that's who went out to take the ambulances. I'm not very sure. If you know, you can explain that to me. But when our story takes place in 2014, the couple are both retired, but they are very well known in the community. So they're members of the local golf club. Jim would be known from, being in the pub regularly, this type of thing. Kathleen actually worked, I'm assuming she volunteered, it was probably more of a volunteer thing, in a shop called As Good As New. So it was probably like one of the charity shops or, the secondhand stores. So they were both a well-known couple. All the articles describe them as lovely people, very sociable. So from what I've read, the couple had two boys and two girls. So there was James Jr. and there was Julian, and daughters Maureen and Delilah. Julian, from what I gather, went to, college or gained qualifications. In his 20s and 30s, he had a very successful career, which brought him to the UK and to the US. But in the 30s, his mental health started to decline. He would suffer from depression, and then this would become more serious. It seemed to decline quite rapidly. So by December 2013, Julian, who I think is kind of like 40, 41 at this point, his family are considering having him committed, involuntarily. It appears that he would just stop eating because he thought his mom was trying to poison him. He had started to sleep, it says in an annex, I don't know if they mean kind of like a separate unit, like a granny flat or something, of the family home. He started sleeping here with an axe. So I don't know why that doesn't happen at that stage. There's no reasons kind of given, but I'm guessing then it kind of just continues to get worse. I believe he lived in the family home. 6 days before the event that we're going to talk about, the family were extremely concerned. It appears that it is his brother James and his sisters that want to have him committed. And so I believe like a plan is actually put in place. They make an appointment either to go to the doctor or to the hospital or something. But his mother Kathleen is worried because of the stigma around mental health and mental illness. I think particularly probably in more of the rural areas, this might be more significant than here in Dublin, let's say. And also bear in mind then for the older communities, for older people and stuff. It's very easy to just kind of be like, oh, that's so silly, like the stigma. We all talk about how it's okay if you're not okay, kind of thing. But I think with everything, as you can see, with any type of kind of social issues, older generations can have a different experience and so will have a different perspective. And so she is worried. She's also worried how Julian will react in terms of, he would resent them then for doing this against his wishes. And so from direction from his wife, Jim would cancel this appointment. On the 23rd of October 2014, James Jr. is working, so I believe he has like a construction company or some sort of kind of building company at the back of the Cudahy household. And so him and his wife, Mairead Porter Cudahy, are working back there. And Kathleen rings to say, do they want some dinner? So Mairead will come down and she will get 2 plates of dinner, and they will head back up to the office to continue working. So again, you're talking dinner time. This is just kind of a bit after 6 p.m. When in the house, Mairead saw Kathleen, but she didn't see Jim. And shortly after this, Kathleen would actually ring to say, did they want more potatoes? There was obviously more left over or something. And they said no, that they were fine. Mary McLaughlin Farron, who worked with Kathleen in the As Good As New shop. So typically when they were closing up then, just kind of a bit after 5 p.m, Jim would drop her home, obviously on their way home. So on this day, like normal, dropped him home, nothing, she didn't think anything was out of the ordinary. The following day, on Thursday the 24th, Delilah went to work. She worked at a school, and so she arrived for 9 a.m. But after only kind of a few minutes, she would get a call from her sister-in-law saying that she was concerned because she couldn't get through to Kathleen or Jim, and that Jim was actually supposed to drive her to a hospital appointment that morning. Delilah tries her dad's phone and it's immediately going to voicemail. So she just knows there's something up, and so she leaves work and heads to the Cudahy home. Obviously, at this point, James Jr. also knows something is going wrong because they can't get through. So he heads to the home. So I don't know. I know they work behind the Cudahy home, but I don't know where they live. So he also arrives over. So brother and sister arrive there, James and Delilah. The back door is locked, and apparently this is unusual. It's usually just left open, but it's locked. But there is an open window into their bedroom, the parents' bedroom. So not really knowing, obviously knowing something is up, but not really expecting anything bad. Delilah tells James to give her a leg up so that she can get in the window. So she goes through the window, and as she walks out of the bedroom into the hallway, she screams. She has found the body of her mother, Kathleen. She doesn't go any further. She says that she just immediately turned back around and climbed back out the window, and when she got down, she just collapsed and started screaming. James then obviously knows something horrific has happened, and he tries to then break in the back door, but he will say that his legs are like jelly and he just can't get the strength to do it. So he actually calls down a worker from the company, Paddy Nelson, to help, and so he breaks in and breaks through the door, and when they go in, they will find their father in the kitchen. James would say that he knew they were dead. There was no need to check for a pulse. Garda were immediately called, obviously, and it says it's at 2 p.m. when detectives arrived. And maybe this is just a little thing, maybe it's nothing really, but I just thought, gosh, does that not seem like very late for, it's a violent scene that they come across. And I just think, is that not strange that the detectives only arrived then more than 4 hours later? The couple have been attacked violently, viciously, and there are weapons there. There is a scissors found and there is an axe found. There's not a lot of information on how they come to know that it is Julian or where Julian is at this point. But I would imagine because of how they know how badly deteriorated his mental health was, that this is just obviously who they assumed was responsible. But I don't know where he is when he's arrested, but he is arrested that evening and he is brought to Buncrana Garda Station. They would charge him with the murder of his mother and his father, and when the first count is read out, he would say, I have no response, and when the second one is read out, he says, I am not signing that. He is then brought to a special sitting in Letterkenny District Court. Free legal aid is granted, and his solicitor, Ray Lannon, would ask that an immediate psychiatric assessment be carried out at Castlereagh Prison. Judge Kevin Kilran would ask, was there a history of mental illness? And it is said in the newspaper that the solicitor says that a doctor had been called out on October 15th, but that no diagnosis had been made. And so the judge kind of then says, okay, well, let's do a psychiatric assessment as soon as possible. And that's that. If the way that Julian has been described before, but there was no diagnosis, it's weird. But again, there's not a huge amount of information on it, so I can't really clarify. Julian is reported as wringing his hands throughout this whole sitting. On the 28th of October, the funeral of the couple would take place in Carndonagh, with the hearses, pulling up side by side. All the local businesses would close for the day. The priest would say that a silence had fallen over the village. And again, they were described as decent, genuine people. Paramedics would carry Kathleen's coffin. The following day, Julian was back up in court, and Judge Paul Kelly would ask about the assessment. So the assessment had still not been done, and he asked why. And it's turned out that Castlereagh doesn't have the capacity or the ability to do this. I don't know why then he was sent to that prison. Like, surely I know obviously we're talking about a horrific crime here, but if this is something that needs to be done to continue on the process of justice and the trial, then either you need to facilitate it in that prison, or he should have been sent to a different prison that can facilitate it. Like, there's no point of wasting time. It's reported that at this sitting, Julian would be seen waving to his relatives, so I assume to his siblings. Julian would be then assessed by 2 psychiatrists, and so he would obviously tell them what had happened, what had been going through his mind. So I'm just going to take us through that. So the psychiatrist would determine that Julian suffered from paranoid schizophrenia. This affected his judgment and perception. He believed that he would be taken by aliens to the Matrix. It's said that obviously he was referring to the whole, the movie, the alternative reality that's the Matrix film is based on, that whole idea. He said that it was hard to piece his thoughts together. He thought that his mother could read his mind. As I said already, that he had believed that his mother was trying to poison him. He believed that the IRA were trying to recruit him, and there was some way that this tied back into the whole Matrix thing. He believed people were conspiring against him. 2 days before the killings, he went into a nearby field and he would wait there all night for the aliens to take him, and he was very disappointed that they hadn't come. He was worried that his thoughts would be stolen while he slept, so sometimes he would just try not to sleep for days. As well as thinking that his mother could read his mind, he believed that they could communicate telepathically. And on the night of the killing, after dinner, he says that he heard his mum's voice in his head saying, "I want you to kill me and your father." After he killed them, he again went walking through the fields, and he said that he believed again that this was an alternate reality, and so he believed that they hadn't actually died. He would also say that he had believed he sent them to heaven. Even after his arrest, I don't know if it's because obviously they were saying like we're arresting you for this or what, but that it's reported that he says to the garda, like, "Are you trying to tell me that my parents are dead?" A detective would testify how Julian told him in the Garda station, quote, "I believe their lives were going to pass on to the unifying field. I knew they were going to die. When the switch turned on, I knew they were going to die," adding that he did it as quickly and painlessly as possible. The state pathologist, Marie Cassidy, would say that they had severe trauma to their heads and to their necks, their chests. The main thing is that he had attacked his parents with the axe. Kathleen had at least 7 blows from the axe, and it is said that some of these were while she was lying down or possibly already dead. But it is believed that she died instantly. As I said, she was found in the hallway. Jim was found in the kitchen, and he had defensive wounds on his hands, implying that he didn't die straight away and he did try to fight back. The case would come to trial in June 2016, and Julian would plead not guilty by reason of insanity. Julian had been first admitted to the Central Mental Hospital on October 31st. He was showing psychotic symptoms and he was delusional. So it practically took a week for him to be put into the Central Mental Hospital's care. The jury would take less than an hour to deliberate, and they found, a unanimous verdict that he was not guilty by reason of insanity. It was determined that Julian needs care and that this care is only available in the Central Mental Hospital. So I would feel like this is one of the cases where this is someone who's never getting out. The judge would say that this was, quote, "a difficult case," and to the family, his deepest sympathies. The 2 psychiatrists would say that Julian didn't know that what he was doing was wrong and that he wouldn't have been able to stop himself. After the trial, James Jr. would say, "We hope nothing like this ever happens to another family. We'd urge families with similar concerns about the mental well-being of a family member to seek timely assistance and intervention." At the funeral, their daughter Maureen would say, "Please seek help. There are so many brilliant services available for people, and I'd urge anyone feeling low to talk now. Don't wait. Speak now and get help before you do something that will cause such great pain to your family. She would also speak of her parents and say, when they worked together on a project, they were like a force of nature. As both captain and presidents of the golf club, they strived to make it the best club it could be. Over the last 5 days, we've come to realise how popular and much loved our parents were and just how many people they actually helped. Guys, that is it on the case of Kathleen and Jim Cudahy. These ones are always hard because it's not as simple like, oh, someone murdered someone. You know, it's sad because if he had gotten help earlier, perhaps things would have been different. Them asking people to seek help, you know, it can make a huge difference. And I shall leave some information below for you guys, and I'm not going to go into a big ramble on this one. You can let me know what you think of this case, and yeah, thank you as always for all the support, and yeah, we shall see you in the next video. Thanks, bye.